Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Let's talk about loneliness and boredom. So guys, I struggle with loneliness and boredom from time to time. And I just want to shed some light on it because I think that we can navigate it better as a species, man and woman, in our modern times, because I know that, being around, a lot of people just aren't worth your time. And even, to some degree, when you guys can probably relate to this, but when you're around people, some people just don't even resonate with you. So even when you're around people, you could be around your coworkers, you could be around your family, you could be around your girlfriend, you could be around anybody, right? And you can still feel that sense of aloneness. You can still feel a large degree of separation, right? And I want to make a clear distinction that feeling a connection with someone that's when you really feel like you're not alone, because you can be around people, right? You can go to parties with your friends in high school or college, and you can just be there to be in good company, right? But in my experience, there's been times where I will go to parties, right, and I'd still feel alone, right? And it's just I knew why, because at the parties and at the events, you're there, but it's bro, everyone's just drinking, everyone just bullshitting or gossiping, and it's I don't know about you, but when I'm with people, I want to share my life story. I want to share ideas. I want to talk about things that I find important. I want to talk about things that matter, right? I don't want to just talk about bullshit, gossip, or what happened in sports, or what this person did with this person, and that's really what a lot of people talk about nowadays, right? Even, in social groups or on sports teams, bro, or at work, we just talk about other people. We just gossip about other people. We don't really talk about things that are fun or interesting. You know what I mean? So this is a problem, right, for a lot of highly intellectual people. And loneliness is difficult, right? But I think the best way to deal with it is to deal with it. If you have one or two people that you can relate to, try to spend, a good amount of time with them. But here's the thing too, no matter how much time you spend with somebody, it doesn't matter if you guys connect or don't, there's always gonna be times where you're by yourself. There's days that go by, full days that go by, where I don't speak to anybody. Can you, there'll be 2 or 3 days that I'll be outside in nature. I'll go to the gym. I'll do some breath work, right? I'll work on my YouTube channel. I'll read a book or do something or make some food, or I'll watch a documentary or a podcast. But I'm not really out here, just being a social butterfly, right? So here's what you don't do. Don't feel like you have to go out and socialize. I don't think that's a good idea as a long-term strategy. Now, can you to potentially make new friends? Yes, of course, right? So I'm not saying you should completely shy away, but someone like me, man, I'm just not really into clubs and going out and sort of drinking and socializing in that degree. Now, is there a potential for me to meet like-minded people at a club or at a party or something? Sure, but do I really want to go? Nah, man, I don't want to go. And I'm sure you guys would rather just keep to yourselves, right? A lot of us just enjoy being in our own presence, right? Now, is there times where I experience negativity, I have doubts in my mind, or I experience overthinking because I've been by myself for so long? Of course, right? But at the end of the day, guys, and this is really a spiritual perspective here, but God is alone. God created everything God is one, right? So even if when you're with another person, you're really just with yourself, because everything is consciousness, right? So there's always going to be that sense of aloneness, because that's what God's true nature is, right? There's no such thing as another in the total absolute sense of consciousness, right? So that's a little abstract, but that's really why we all experience loneliness to some degree, because we are in fact alone, right? I am one in God. Me and you are the same, right? There is really no difference, right? We're just a different manifestation of the same force, right? in a dualistic reality, coming back to oneness, right? That's what evolution is. That's what our spiritual evolution is all about, is coming back to our oneness and our understanding of what the true nature of us, God, is, right? So understanding that is crucial to deal with loneliness. And now let's talk about boredom, right? Because boredom and loneliness kind of go together. They're kind of like brother and sister. So boredom, guys, there's going to be times if you're alone all day that you get bored. Like, it is what it is, right? And then what you don't want to do when you're bored is you don't want to self-sabotage, because I think that when we're bored and when we're alone and when we feel the pressure and the heaviness of just like our mind, like the constant chatter and the heaviness of your mind, the thing that we like to do as an easy escape is go watch some pornography, play some video games, go grab some food, right? And it's totally fine to be on your phone, you know, for a little bit, as long as it's constructive for the most part. And I'm not perfect. There's times where I scroll on social media excessively that I just, like I said, it is what it is. You know, there's times where I'm not always the best when it comes to that. So I'm not perfect in that regard, but I think the best thing you can do is not escape your boredom. Because when you escape it by vice, by self-sabotage, or just, like drinking or drugs or anything, like that's when you make your life, that's when your life becomes worse, because now you're playing with your physiology, your psychology, your neurochemistry, your brain dopamine receptors, right? And then that's when it actually gets worse, because now you're in a cycle of addiction, right? And that, we know where that leads. That leads to despair, that leads to emptiness, that leads to more anxiety, right? So don't self-sabotage, right? Try not to, right? You want to, obviously, if you're a man, you want to be celibate for the most part. You don't want to be on your phone as much as, you want to stay off your phone as much as possible, unless you're watching podcasts or you're creating content or doing something like that. And then just like, you have to be active too. I think we spend a lot of time inside, when we're alone, right? We're just inside for hours and hours and hours on end. And like I said, I'm right here with you guys, so I'm being completely transparent. Like, I spend a lot of time inside too, and I have to get out. That's why I'm out here, right, in nature, right? So I feel best out here. I feel aligned. I feel happy. I feel fulfilled. I feel content, and I feel connected to everything around me. And I think that as far as boredom goes, I think if you don't self-sabotage, I think if you stay moving, you keep your body moving, you keep your mind occupied, you read books, right? Try to learn things. And that's another thing too, like, be creative, right? If you want to start a side hustle, or you want to be a writer, do something like that, right? I don't know necessarily like how to get into like writing or something like that, but if you want to do that, do that. But like I said, I think the worst thing you can do is try to self-sabotage. And as far as like being bored, just like being inside all day, like, we're humans too, and the more we're inside, the more anxious we feel. There's a book by Desmond Moore, it's called The Human Zoo, and he says, like, when humans are inside for a long time, they start to I think there was in the book, he basically says how, like, when monkeys were in like a cage for a long time, they would just jerk off, and like, if they were given food, they would just keep eating. So we're not that different as far as our DNA goes. So that's kind of, that's one reason why we struggle with addiction, because we're really animals. Like, we're in an animal body. I know we're conscious. We're also conscious, intellectual human beings as well, but we're still animals on a physical level. You know what I mean? On a biological level. So it's really not good for the human animal to be inside, like, kind of like all day, if that makes sense. Like, it's really not good for us to do that. And obviously you can't fight every single minute being outside, but if you can get out a couple hours a day, I think that will be tremendously helpful for your boredom, right? Obviously, if you're in Florida, like in Florida, I try to go get out to the beach if I can. I try to get out here, right? Like this beautiful nature area. In a minute here, I'm going to go for a walk. I'm going to cook some food, right? So you always want to just have things to do as far as keeping your mind occupied. And I'm not saying you can't, sit there and, just be bored or contemplate or reflect, but you don't want to do that all day, right? Like, you know, there's times where I'll sit there and meditate for an hour, or I'll just reflect on my thoughts, or think about my life, or think about something, right? Which is totally fine. But you can't have that just be all day. Like, you can't just wake up and just lay in bed for the first 2 hours, go on your phone, play some video games, and the next thing you know, it's like 3 o'clock in the afternoon and you haven't done anything. Like, that's not, and you know, I'm talking about being bored and being alone, but you know, you guys should be working too. Like, you guys should be at a job. Like, you have to do stuff. You should be, if you're in school, you should be in school, right? Or doing your studies and studying for your tests, or completing your exams, or working on a certification, or whatever you're doing. So this is really just for the times where like you have days off and you're struggling with loneliness or boredom. So yeah, guys, I hope this helps. If this video has helped you, give it a thumbs up. If you're new to my channel, make sure to subscribe. If you guys have any questions, comments, leave them down below. And as always, I will talk to you guys soon. Peace.